Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two.
That was the Millennium Falcon taking
I know.
Let's do this.
We literally started this episode by pounding on the hyperspeed drive.
Not that one.
God damn it, Chewie!
Jeez, Louise, every single time.
Michael always says, right before we record, Riley's like checking around chords. He's like, it looks like, Chewbacca fixing the Falcon while we're trying to get out of Hoth.
Every time.
Sadly, I'm C-3PO. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. Mm-hmm. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
And our super producer,
Riley Bray.
Guys, I don't want to get too inside before we bring in our guest, but why isn't there a left turn signal at Hollywood and La Brea?
Send us your comments, guys. We want to get to the bottom of this.
I am trying to get to the studio, and there's just not enough traffic signals to get my hair out of time.
Traffic talk.
Hollywood La Brea, no left turn.
Guys,
what do you think?
Let's get it. Also, it's sad now as I was walking up rushedly that our studio has become my version of a cabin in the woods. I was like, I'm in nature finally.
This counts as nature.
Yeah.
There's plants.
We were just on a trip, and I'm ready to get out of L.A.
Yeah.
See, the listeners at home don't know this, but we've been in the time machine. The last episode that aired was the L-Files with the Witch and the Medium, Adela Levine, and Mystic Dylan.
Which was phenomenal, by the way. I listened to it on the way over. So good.
Thanks,
be careful, because you weren't in it.
No, I know. I'm scaring to say that, but you guys did a fantastic job.
You gotta come back. You gotta face the music next time. Here's a true reveal. Bryce was too scared to come do that episode.
That's not true.
But we just came back from a trip about a week ago doing the live show, and I want to thank everybody who did come out for that. That was such a blast in Salt Lake. And I'm already ready for a new vacation.
Yeah, where will we go next?
Who knows? Man. You tell us. I'll tell you what. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is a comedian, a writer, an actor. She might play a musical instrument as a joke. We'll get into it. She also hosts the conspiracy theory podcast, Lizard People. Ladies, gentlemen, welcome, Katelyn Hempstead.
Heck yeah.
I mean, I feel like our listeners probably know your show. I would hope.
They better. If you are on the internet and you don't know my show, honey, how'd you avoid it? Also, I know the moment passed a long time ago, but I'm Rose Tico. The one no one likes.
I didn't know we were suddenly in the sequel trilogy. I'm fine with that. I'm fine. That's Riley
Very at
is
home there.
Riley is still Chewbacca. That makes me Finn.
Oh, you can still be 3PO.
I'm still 3PO.
Yeah,
No, he's
I think
rarely in the Millennium Falcon in this trilogy. I guess they're all in the Millennium Falcon at the end of the last one. I'm
Bryce
a
is
porg.
Luke, obviously.
All right.
No, Bryce is Poe
yeah.
Dameron.
You guys
If we're
are-
going
Oh,
sequel.
the ladies love Poe. Take that
I'm
compliment.
Finn. I'm Finn. I'm definitely Finn, or I'm Ray.
Mm-hmm.
You
You
can
might
be
be
both.
Ray.
I could be Ray. I could be Ray.
You can.
Okay. Well, I wasn't trying to imply that there was a love triangle between the three of us.
Well,
I
We
realize
just
now.
met.
I realized I jumped on saying I'm Finn but I am the Finn to my own Ray.
Yeah, and I think that the love triangle is more of a belief octagon.
Ooh, I'll tell you.
Wow.
I'm playing 3D chess, baby.
The one I'm shipping is Ray and Kylo all the way.
Woo!
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy.
This feels like a personal
I
moment.
am in love with them both. I really want it to happen.
Wow,
He's got a secret fanfic
Yeah,
file.
yeah.
I'm literally getting a little hot under the collar just thinking about it. Katelyn, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
So before we get into Katelyn's personal paranormal history, we have some
say knows. I really committed on that one.
I
feel good
appreciate
about
it, and I applaud you.
Thank you. This just in, Katelyn, and I know you know about this because we were talking beforehand, but the Navy says the UFOs in Tom DeLonge's videos are dun, 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 unidentified aerial phenomena. Booyah. The U.S. Navy has officially acknowledged that UFOs are real and violate American airspace. In official statements, the U.S.
so violated.
Is that
That's your
Bigfoot?
American airspace.
I'm airspace. Violate me. Okay.
That was like a guy up in the like the control tower late at night.
Oh no, my airspace. I want to bomb him.
He
In
loves his
official
job.
statements, the U.S. Navy has, for the first time, officially stated that the 3 UF videos made publicly by former Blink-182 singer Tom DeLonge's UFO research organization of footage are real unknown objects violating airspace. Navy spokesperson Joseph Gradisher told Motherboard that the Navy considers the phenomena depicted in those 3 videos as unidentified. Previously, the Navy never addressed the content of the videos. The terminology here is important. The UFO community is increasingly using the terminology unidentified aerial phenomena to discuss unknown objects in the sky.
Okay, so Bryce.
Yes.
Without repeating the same thing we've said on this podcast time and time again.
Okay.
Walk me through this here.
Sure.
The videos that they're talking about are the same videos that we saw back in December 2017 when the New York Times article broke that the Pentagon had ATIP, the study.
Right.
We're not talking about new videos. It's just I'm asking not to poo-poo the story. I'm just saying let's so everyone's caught up.
Sure.
Not new footage, but the Navy for the first time
Yeah,
is
that's
saying,
right.
yeah, we don't know what those are.
Yeah, after Luis Elizondo left the program ATIP to retire to go to work for Tom DeLonge's company, To the Stars Academy, he brought with him 3 videos, I believe, titled Go Fast, The Gimbal, and Tic Tac.
I
All
love that you have those memorized.
Yeah,
Incredible.
all military taken gun camera footage of UFOs, of these strange craft, sort of dodging and weaving these fast Super Hornets.
So I'm just making sure it's clear.
Yes.
The footage isn't new. It's just that the Navy has finally said.
That's right.
Correct.
That's right. The footage is only new as far as it was released in
because I feel like every time
2017.
the story comes out, people are like, what?
No, but they're not relatively old. I think the oldest one is maybe 15 years ago.
Well,
so yeah, they're right. They're not new videos, but they're newly released.
This is the footage that came out through the New York Times article on December 17th.
Yes, through Tom DeLonge's company.
2017.
Right. And, I do just want to, for whatever they are, I do want to make sure we put some respect on Tom DeLonge for giving up a thriving music career to ask the real questions.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Are
my God.
aliens around?
He's a hero to us all.
Dude, he is moving that ball forward.
He knows what matters.
Do you guys
does.
tackle To the Stars Academy much on your show, or how familiar are you with this?
Not very.
It's not quite a conspiracy theory. There's something really conspiracy theory about it, unless you want to create a conspiracy theory around it.
It definitely complicates the narrative of everything that is out about aliens the government is denying and they're keeping from us because they're evil and they're hiding it and they want us all to be abducted by the lizards, which I think is it's been a very interesting turn of events in the UFO community.
Yes.
Because people are like, but they're releasing it, so they're not bad?
And they
but
also
are they bad?
don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Because to me, and Bryce, you let me know. I mean, I think we've sort of been, it's funny because this all started to drop around the time we started Bigfoot Collectors
I mean,
Club.
the timing couldn't have been better. Yeah,
guys.
literally 2 years ago, and then a month later in December. So we started October of 2017.
Yeah.
In December of 2017, that New York Times article exploded onto the mainstream media, and this has really sort of let the barn doors open into this dialogue of the phenomena of UAPs, UFOs, BHMs. Big hairy monsters.
And guess what else is going to happen?
I was hoping for big howl movement.
Guess what else is going to happen in a couple months?
What?
After this airs? Rey and Kylo Ren, they're gonna fuck.
Oh boy.
It's also relevant.
Listen, come on. Ray knows how to
Somehow.
fuck.
I'm
Are
just
you
saying,
kidding me?
we've got our thumb on the zeitgeist.
Wait. My girl Ray knows. My girl Ray knows how to
She
You
fuck.
knows how to
know,
get down.
you know,
Oh, you know
Kylo
Ray know how
Ren's
to
got
get
a
down.
couple kids out there.
Oh,
Come on.
of
Some
course.
He
distant
didn't-
planets.
Because
He-
his first dark phase, he didn't go straight to the dark side. He was like, I'm going to go to the fuck side.
He's Han Solo's kid.
Come on.
So you know he knows how to fuck.
Yeah, so I mean,
True.
Leia too.
Oh.
Leia inherited it from her parents. Luke is just like, I want to walk into an old tree.
Bless his sweetheart.
I know.
The original incel.
So, basically, my feeling is that where we are with UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, is that the pilots and the people and the personnel, the boots on the ground or in the air, however you want to say it, are just sick and tired of saying, why are we ignoring this stuff?
Well, that's true because they also, the Navy also changed their policy about
Back in
reporting
April.
these. Yeah, it was recently that they changed their policy to allow pilots to report this phenomena without losing their credentials or even their license to fly. So it's a big deal.
So it really seems to me it's a generational thing where the greatest generation, the World War II, and after the military complex that grew up behind that, and this is just me speculating, was like, hey, we don't talk about that stuff because we don't want to look crazy.
Right.
So just don't talk about it. Now, it's possible that somewhere within that system, some real shit was seen and some real shit was discovered, like in Roswell, but they kept it.
Well, absolutely.
They kept it clamped down.
You'll love about
But
this.
now
the
we're living in an
conspiracy-
era where the stigma of I sound crazy is kind of going on the wayside, and now it's more like, dude, why aren't we talking about this stuff?
Yeah, the military has always wanted to control the narrative of this topic, and so it's never been not happening. I mean, it's always been, pilots have always experienced and seen things in the skies. It's just been reduced to you're not allowed to talk about it, and that the Condon report was basically them saying, put the hush on this. You know what I mean? Make fun of it. Anybody who releases...
What's the Condon report?
The Condon report was a report put together by the CIA to establish, after Project Blue Book was over, what the military was supposed to do with the supposed... with the Air Force's Project Blue Book. And the Condon report was a very quick panel, I think, of CIA analysis that looked at like 10 cases. And they were basically pushed into the idea of, we want to control the narrative on this. Say UFOs, there's nothing to them. It's all been debunked. It's all just swamp gas. There's nothing here. There's no fire to this smoke.
Now, do you think, and I would like Caitlin's opinion on this, is that because they're just being Don Draper types who are like, don't sound crazy, because crazy is how women sound, and we know they're the weaker sex.
They get their periods.
Yeah, they're driven by emotions and crazy thoughts about leaving me for another man.
Or another woman.
That doesn't happen. No,
that's actually part of the narrative of the Project Blue Book show on History Channel.
Amazing. I love the History Channel.
Because the lesbian is also a communist.
Oh, wonderful.
I know,
and I
it's pretty
think that's
great.
because lesbians are smarter than the rest of us.
Hey, is it because it's like, let's just not be crazy? Or is it because they're like, we actually have something to cover up here?
Okay, at the risk of being a government stooge, there is a third option.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there.
Please.
Which is that a pilot sees something weird in the sky, goes, that thing's moving weird, like it's tailing me. He comes down and goes, hey, everybody, a weird thing was tailing me. And the Russians go, our drone worked. So I do, like most of the time the government garbage, occasionally the government keeping a secret that might actually be in the interest of national security.
Right.
Now, I don't want to default to assuming that the government is doing the right thing because we got to be vigilant. But, I think it could be some kind of combination. I think it could be their Don drapering their little panties up in a twist and saying, like, don't let anything out. We got to be in control. It could be some people legitimately being like, we're pretty sure that is like a fucking Soviet new experimental plane that we just shot down. So maybe don't go telling everybody that now we have this experimental plane. Mm-hmm. And some of it, I don't know, fucking aliens.
Yeah. Or just like, we don't know what this is, and therefore we can't admit that because that is a threat to national security. And that's what it really all comes down to. Don't you think, Bryce?
Yes.
From a military point of view, it all comes down to this is an aerial threat. And this isn't me being like, let's mobilize. It's just that if the point of a military and a government is to protect its citizens from invasion,
absolutely,
and there's something out there that might be able to, quote unquote, invade, and they do not know how to catalog it, understand it, copy it, or defend us, they're not going to fucking say anything because their job becomes irrelevant.
That's the only way you're going to get those Congress dollars. I mean, the program was literally called ATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. So once they identified the threat as violating American airspace and not knowing what it was, it becomes something that any security council would be well to look into.
And everything looks like a nail when you're a hammer. And when you're the military, you see something floating around in the sky, you're going to be like, a threat, it's a threat.
Yeah.
Can't tell anybody it's a threat.
Right, right.
That
we gonna nail that son bitch.
Looks like a glowing Tic Tac. Why does this?
Now the line for me becomes, where does the government stand, right? So you really have two scenarios playing out. One is that sort of this scenario that took place in the late 40s and early 50s, that downed crashed vehicles have crashed, for lack of a better word, here in the United States.
I said it once, I'll say it again.
They crashed.
And that we've recovered these materials, perhaps even bodies, and that represents sort of this physical manifestation that these UFOs are from another galaxy and contain pilots, perhaps biological entities. Now, I'm not sure where I stand on all that, but then you have this other scenario that's playing out, is that this is a phenomena, hence the title, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. We don't know what it is. We don't know where it comes from, and we can't control it, but we just want to let you know that we're acknowledging it now.
Well, and what else? What's not to say that out in Corona, New Mexico in 1947, that old rancher Mac...
Yeah, Max something.
God damn it!
Max Simpson.
He lived in a shack out on the ranch. He was a ranch hand. Came across that craft. Came across those beings.
Yeah,
and they weren't from this dimension.
No, I know, and that's the croft. That's what makes it difficult. Is I've been one to sort of like studying all this stuff. You think that like, okay, I'm not sure if there is downed craft with pilots. I mean, I think all this stuff is part of the same, phenomena. But then, going over the evidence of Roswell, it's hard not to think that really didn't take place, that a crash really did happen there, and that they really did possibly take, alien bodies from that downed crash. So I don't know where I stand. I don't think I ever will.
Amen.
So how did you get into all this conspiracy stuff?
We're going to find that out
to know.
Right after this break, my friend Bryce.
Great. When you come back, we're going to find out from Katelyn how she got started on conspiracies. Because Lord knows there's plenty of them.
That's real
Dad,
folksy.
I love you. Lord knows your dad loves you. And I'm going to tuck you in tonight.
You can hear the whittling.
The government's lying.
Well, goddamn, be it all mine. Let me tell you something.
I'm a man of few words, but
we gotta get
now,
out
please
somewhere.
enjoy this experience. The Pirates of the Caribbean.
This bothers some people. Does this bother you, seeing my unread emails? Are you one of those?
love it.
Do you have like 32,000?
I don't love it. Yeah, I have 26,000.
Welcome back to Bigfoot country. Old Mac Brazel's ranch.
Ah.
Where the where the UFOs are crashing and the meteors are shooting, and you know those government men are coming to give you $300 to shut the fuck up.
That's right.
You go down to the local tavern, because Lord knows,
Good Lord knows I saw something.
boys will
The
talk.
Lord knows. Them boys will talk. Oh, them boys will talk.
Yeah,
Lord
them boys gonna
knows.
talk.
Caitlin, I have to ask you this question. I ask all of our guests. What is your personal paranormal history?
Well, if I was listening to this, I would want to know the answer to the conspiracy theory thing. So can I answer that
Let's
Yeah.
start there. And actually,
right, 'cause, yeah,
let me give you a little
continuity.
launch pad
Okay.
with that, which is, if this isn't the answer to that question, where were you when you first learned about the lizard people conspiracy theory?
Oh my God, amazing question. Okay, well, I've always been a big dork with incredibly specific interests, such as when I was like in middle school, I got incredibly into saints. I'm Jewish,
Oh, wow.
but I got incredibly into Catholic saints and like read every book of like lives of the saints that I could and like had little saint rituals. And then I've just sort of continued being a freak like that with other various interests. And now it's conspiracy theories. A few years back, I learned about, I think it was the School of the Americas, which it's a...
don't know about
It's mercenary school, and it was partially like funded and supported by the U.S. government and responsible for a fuckload of violence in Latin America.
I'm pretty sure that I went to... Wait a minute.
Get
Wait a minute.
it
Not
out.
the
Wait a
School of the
minute.
Americas, but so in high school, I went to boarding school in Michigan for the arts for kids who felt like they were way too good for their hometowns.
You lucky. Oh, I would have been so happy.
There was a there was a couple there that had a bed and breakfast, and he used to teach, I believe, at the School of the Americas.
Very
Does that
interesting.
mean that this man was a former CIA operative?
No, I think
I-
You're pointing at her like the emperor.
Yeah, you're doing a
think you're
two-finger
doing-
point.
It's not like a school. It's not
Very
like a
intense.
campus, right?
There is, and I think that also exists. Like there are like certainly American schools all around the world.
No, I know that, but I think there's a place called the School of the Americas.
I think that I'm thinking of the right thing, but it's possible I'm not because this is like 8-year-old
No,
information.
but I think
I've
I'm
heard of what
thinking
you
of
were
the wrong
talking
thing.
about.
Okay, thank
Yes.
thank
and,
God.
the massacres in El Salvador.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 80s and,
Yeah, it's code name. It's
Yeah,
code
yeah,
name
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's not like a school. It's not
Yeah.
like
Oh,
a
I thought it
mercenary
was
college.
like-
Oh no.
Yeah,
I
Project
thought the
Starbook
place
style.
was
It's
called,
like
it was a
Yeah.
front
It's
called
like
the
a
School
training-
of the Americas.
It's
And then
like-
really everyone's like, I'm going to study a foreign language, but really I'm going to kill
I'm gonna
people.
kill everybody. I'm gonna murder
I mean,
all
that
people.
sounds like a good idea.
But probably
Let's do
not the
that.
proprietor of the bed and breakfast.
I don't know.
So let me ask. Let
Like
me,
the new conspiracy.
he
Hey,
looked
listen.
like he knew what it was like to strangle a man
He'd
to
seen
death.
some shit.
Well, he did work at a children's performing arts school. So.
Adjacent.
Oh, okay.
My friend snuck over there to lose their virginity and said that they were graduates of the school. Little did they know that that kindly old mercenary couple went and saw every musical that ever, so they knew they were lying.
oh my God.
That's very romantic.
So how many of these
We
conspiracies
digress.
do you subscribe to, or and by subscribe I mean believe that they are actual conspiracies?
So fairly few. Unfortunately, I am largely pretty skeptical,
Wow.
which is always boring. But there have definitely been a couple that have just like absolutely grabbed me. And a lot of them are sort of like the ones that the longer I'm alive in America, the more horrifying things I see about the intersection between like money and power and influence and treating vulnerable people horribly. So there's a lot of stuff that's sort of like one conspiracy theory we covered was that like pharmaceutical companies don't research cures, they research treatments.
Oh, this is true.
And it's true. It's
Yeah.
like
That's
it
how
is
you stay
true.
in business.
But it is also sort of a conspiracy theory. And
Sure.
it's sort of like a hard thing to pull direct evidence for because like we don't have access to all of their like funding information. But it is true that there are a lot of pills for like pain and symptoms.
Listen, I
and
don't
not a
think
lot
I'm
of
blowing
cures.
up his spot.
Okay.
My father worked in the pharmaceutical industry.
Is that how we afforded your theater school?
Yes. Yes.
For the fruits of my labor, my
but
son shall go
he
to dance camp.
He wasn't setting protocols. He was more about like making sure the companies are following FDA regulations and what the label says is in the drug is in the drug.
Yeah.
Right? So I think if I understand my father's job, that's what I've figured out.
And I'm not mad at your dad.
Also, it made him very unhappy.
No.
And but he used to say, I remember back in the 90s, he was like, this industry is about treating people, not curing people, and that used to make him upset.
Yeah.
So
I get
Awesome.
So
I would,
stuff like that.
I would ask you this.
well, wait
I
a
feel
minute.
like, well, hold on.
I still haven't had my question answered.
Well, hold on. You.
Well, hold on, you, sir.
Both of you, hold on.
Daddy, don't fight.
All right. So if I feel like the barometer of conspiracy theory is the JFK thing. Do you stand
Boy, oh
right?
boy.
Do you stand on lone shooter or conspiracy?
That one is a tricky one because there are, I would say, at least 4 distinct conspiracy theories
And
about
also,
JFK's
don't you feel
killing.
like a few different parties showed up to that Dealey Plaza that day? Like there was a couple things planned. Like this guy's gonna drive by this tiny square with no cover. Let's all try to, it's like they're all showing up at the same place at the same time, and then like one of them pulled it off.
Here's okay. So my personal JFK theory, because there's some juicy ones. There's some like Castro had him killed. There's some like the mob type of stuff. The
George
Jack Ruby thing,
Bush.
very weird. George Bush went back in time, had him killed. Of course, one of the main ones. Not just kidding. That's not a theory.
I actually did not blink because I was like, that's for sure been at least an hour on Coast to Coast AM radio for sure.
Could be.
What the fuck?
Oh,
Why
we're
is
hearing-
Cicada and Fugue playing all
We
this?
that
have
the
to
name of that?
leave. This is the most scared I've ever been.
Oh yeah.
Cicada and
you
Fugue
can
just
hear it.
started playing.
Oh
Is
my
that your
God.
neighbor's
It's
house?
My neighbor's house sitters are playing.
That's kind of
crazy
cool
music.
though.
That's kind of fun.
I don't mind
I
it.
love that you knew the name of that.
And
That's-
as I was about to drop my theory,
right.
Yeah.
the most scariest song of all.
Here's a conspiracy. They're listening to
They
you
are.
right
They are
now,
always
ready to drop
listening.
that staccato at a moment's notice.
Here's my theory about JFK. It is very similar to my theory about Epstein, which is that the government, agents within the government who had things to hide, set up a situation where it would be possible for that person to die. I think Jeffrey Epstein genuinely killed himself, and I think JFK was shot by a lone gunman. I also think that certain choices were made by people in power to make those people more vulnerable to being
You
killed.
know?
Certain
That's-
choices. That's the definition of conspiracy.
Yes,
Well,
honey?
or allowing something to happen, not getting out of the way. A lot of people think
Tit for tat.
that 9/11 was kind of the same.
You don't have to mumble that.
Same
9/11. I still have a lot of questions about
Bunch of
that.
Saudi
Well, but there's a difference
nationals.
between like they were fake planes. It's like no, the thing really happened, but people who could have prevented it from happening steps aside.
Yeah, and there's people in the government have power, and people in power are going to protect their own power. And people who seek power are bad, mostly, so they're going to like protect themselves above everything else.
So, where were you when you first heard
That Jeffrey Epstein.
the lizard conspiracy, the lizard people thing, which we don't really talk about on this show with good reason, but it's the name of your podcast, and I also find it fascinating. Where were you when you heard it? And tell people what it is if they don't know.
Let me take you back. It's 2016.
Oh wow.
I'm on the internet, Googling around.
As you do in 2016.
I honestly, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that it was a YouTube hole and I just stumbled upon the first video I remember seeing and going, whoa, this is wild. There's a video of Miley Cyrus in an interview. And she blinks her
Lizard
eyes.
eyes.
She blinks her people eyes, and then in an unbelievably obvious job of doctoring, she blinks her sideways lizard eyes.
yeah.
And they were like, "Look, it's proof."
Illuminati lizard Cyrus.
Yeah.
So the theory,
Wow.
of course,
And I
being
fell in love.
that an ancient race of lizard beings are impersonating as humans and secretly running the world.
And
There's-
making incredibly catchy pop music.
Unbelievably catchy. They came in like a wrecking ball, guys.
10 points.
Look at you
Awarded.
go.
Boom.
Yeah, so there's like a couple of different angles of the theory. David Icke is sort of the
Oh, yeah.
foremost
Yeah.
proponent of this theory, and he
Some
wild.
people get mad when we bring him up on this show. Listen, people, we're not fans, but we're just. This is part of the world we're living in.
Yeah,
If we're talking about 7-foot reptilian cryptids, sometimes
You gotta
we
bring
talk
up-
about
yeah.
David
Davey's
Icke,
gonna
yeah.
come up, and I think he's a loon. But anyway,
Sure.
so there's a theory that's sort of like this is a relatively new phenomenon, that like they're impersonating our leaders who they've abducted. There's also a theory that the lizards human beings have always been farmed, that they have been there since the beginning of our evolution and our civilizations, that they have interbred with some of us. You can tell if you're part lizard person because
How?
let me
Yeah,
diagnose you. A weak, thready pulse. I think like generally cold and everybody touched their necks or
Chilly, yeah.
wrists. Like cold and clammy skin. There's a couple other things.
Well,
Eating flies.
Supposedly my great grandfather 21 times, according to my Aunt Helen, was King Richard the First, and so I am of
Feels
a
like a
royal
sign.
bloodline,
Feels like
which
a sign.
means that I'm probably lizard person.
If one of us is.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
My
Humble
uncle thought he
brag.
was Saint
Humble
Jerome.
brag. Wait till we're married. And on our honeymoon, I shapeshift right when I'm making you.
Doesn't the
some
lizard
fanfic right
people
there.
thing come from the Anunnaki, right? Isn't that Zacharias
Yes,
Sitchin?
yes,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the whole
right.
David Icke
Zacharias
thing.
Sitchin, though.
He's the Anunnaki
Is that
guy.
right? Yeah.
There's
yeah,
also
yeah,
a
yeah.
really yucky corollary to this about how they're all pedophiles
Yeah,
and they
Oh, yeah.
kill the kids.
You
and
get
I
10
hate it.
pages. That's what it was like. So in like 2005, my friend told me about this, and there was like a real moment where I was stoned, and I was like, that's probably true.
Yeah.
And then I tried to read The Biggest Secret, and I was like 5 pages in, and it's just like
It's
David
unreadable.
Icke is just like writing like child rape, like fantasy fiction
Yeah.
about all the presidents that raped kids. And I'm like, okay, this is too much.
Listen, he's bad.
Yeah,
But
it's
the theory,
very
fun.
heavy.
Yeah. And you know what? We all have the power as consumers of conspiracy theories to go, no, I only like the nice part. And so you could just pay attention to the fun part if you want to.
Yeah, it is a dark business of going down those YouTube videos.
Oh, boy.
Boy, is it ever.
Oh, Dad.
Lord knows it's a dark
YouTube
business.
gets dark.
It can
So,
get
Katelyn,
dark.
we talk about on the show, like, conspiracy theory is not totally our thing, clearly, because, I don't know, it's very easy to get stuck in the mud. But as far as it goes in paranormal terms, or UFOs in general, Bigfoot, that stuff, have you ever had any experiences that you couldn't explain?
Okay. I have 2 things that I wanted to bring to the table
Yes.
for your entertainment.
Great.
Number 1, Ghost Mom. When I was in college at UC Davis, as we were discussing earlier, go Eggs.
Eggs?
I was gonna say. I was
The Aggies.
Aggies.
Aggies. Okay.
Agricultural. The
Oh, it's like a
mascot is a
bird
Mustang,
somehow.
but we're
Oh,
called
it's
the
a horse.
Ags. It's a.
I was hoping it was like a very like aggro farmer.
They're just pissed off.
But I think they should change it to the Eggs.
Yeah.
Davis Eggs. When I was at UC Davis, I lived in a house with some friends, and in the backyard, we made a fire pit, and we made it cute and homey. We had a bunch of plants. It was an adorable little house. But right from when we moved in, weird shit started happening. But it had a very particular tone to the weirdness. It was all sort of mildly helpful.
Really?
Like weird little phenomena that were sort of nice. For instance, like there was a time where I brought groceries home. I had 2 roommates. I brought groceries home. Neither of my roommates were home. I knew they were both at class. I was putting the groceries away in the fridge. I went back out and the front door was closed. And I was like, oh, I definitely left the front door open. Weird. A couple weeks later, my other roommate came home. He was like, ran straight into the bathroom, came back to close the door. Door was closed again. Sometimes we would like leave lights on, and then we came back, the lights would be off. And we'd be like, did you turn the lights off? And they'd be like, no, I didn't turn the lights off. So we developed a theory, which is that we had a very friendly ghost in our house who thought we were incompetent children.
Quietly judgmental of the electricity bill.
Deeply
And of getting
judgmental.
a chill from a draft.
Yes, or leaving a door open to thieves and robbers. So we started calling her Ghost Mom. And whenever something a little bit weird would happen, like a pen would roll off a table or everybody would go, oh, Ghost Mom.
Right.
Except one time. We had a fire in the backyard. We did a fire in the fire pit. Put it out, put water on it, did everything right. Next day, my roommate comes home from class, 3 p.m., blazing fire in the fire pit. Like shoulder height
outside
fire.
the boundaries of the fire pit?
In the fire pit,
Okay.
all perfectly safe, blazing fire.
Okay.
Demon blaze.
We were like, I'm so sorry. What the fuck? And so we all text each other. We're like, no, I didn't have anything to do with it. Nothing. The lock on the gate was not disturbed. We couldn't figure out how anyone would have climbed over the fairly tall gate.
Katelyn.
Ghost Mom was pissed.
You guys made a classic ghost mistake.
What do we do?
You indulged it. You made friends with it.
Mm-hmm.
You started talking to it.
Right.
You gave
You
it
gave
a
it a
name.
name.
It got stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I'm going to set fire to your house now. I'm closing the doors to keep you in here so you all burn alive.
Shoot.
Damn, Ghost
Well,
Mom.
dang, Ghost Mom.
That is some Bell Witch shit.
I didn't know your unfinished business was killing college
Well,
students.
I'm just saying, it's posing, and then you made it stronger by giving it energy.
You know what would save electricity is if I burn this fucking house down.
Yeah, maybe she was like a 50s mom who like nobody cared about her or asked what she thought of things, and then she died. She was like, oh, I'll get revenge.
Oh, yeah. You were good at that.
It could just be an angry spirit that's not like a ghost at all. It's just like, I like to burn stuff because it's in my nature.
Maybe. Could have been a totally separate spirit from the lights and the doors and
True.
stuff.
That's crazy, though. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Was there like fresh logs on this fire? How was this fire happening?
It was like burned down. It was like a 2-hour-old fire. So also maybe someone snuck into our backyard and made a fire. I don't know.
You might have had a drifter.
The spookiest spirit
Lord
of all.
knows. The drifters come around. Lord
Riding those
knows.
trains.
It gets cold out there. UC Davis tonight.
All right, Ghost Mom Part 1. What
Ghost Mom.
about Part 2?
Part 2. This one is less of a fun story and more a thing that really freaks me out.
Oh,
Yeah, buckle up, kids.
wow.
Okay, I said before I'm pretty skeptical in general, but there's something that keeps happening to me that I cannot explain, and I haven't really told anybody about it, but I'm going to give you guys the exclusive.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we're
Because
honored.
I don't like to talk about it. It makes me
Do
uncomfortable.
you
I
want our
understand that.
opinion on it? Because you're gonna get
Well,
it.
let's-
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do. Well, it's not that. I'm over hyping.
Okay.
I all my life have had extremely vivid dreams, and one of the things that's very vivid in my dreams is places, and like very, very, very specific places. Like, oh, that's so weird that like usually you wouldn't see like redwoods and oaks in the same area, but like the redwoods are growing here, and then there's a hillside full of oaks up there. Interesting. And then later on in my life, I go to a new place and I go, yes, I have seen this in my dream. And the specific, I tell you a lot about
Precognitive
college
dreaming
this time.
phenomena.
Yeah, and there was a weird. So when I was in high school, I was trying to do lucid dreaming, and so I would write my dreams down in journals. Is that your jam as well?
I'm gesturing
I've had
He
it,
gestured.
to
yeah,
Bryce.
I've
to
had
be like,
experience
well,
in that, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, kind of. They say you're supposed to journal
How
about
many
it.
celebrities did you try to have sex with? On your lucid dreams.
Sex is a natural thing for
That's right,
first-time
Michael.
lucid dreamers.
Yuck! No, it's not. You should feel bad. Just kidding. Just
I'm
kidding.
gonna fly around and I'm gonna seduce Scarlett Johansson tonight.
And go to the pyramids.
Exactly.
nice.
And look
Knowing
under
you,
the
it
Hall
was
of Records.
probably
I looked
when-
for the Hall of Records.
when you were doing
I
it.
did cool shit.
You're like, I'm going to go look under that Sphinx foot, and then I'm going to see what Jennifer Love Hewitt is
well,
up
I've
to.
got 5 minutes left.
I feel like I can really
Is Nev
pinpoint.
Campbell at home?
So
Pyramid.
you were born in 1983. Is what I'm getting from this. Nev Campbell.
I've been outed. Will you please continue?
And then
your
he went
story?
to gym with 311. High fives all around. Sick.
What's
What a night. What did you do last night?
He's not denying it.
Okay, the very serious story you were just telling us.
Yeah.
No, I never lucid dreamed anything horny. Oh yeah. So I was writing things down. I wrote down a very specific dream I had where I was standing in there was building on three sides of me. It was dark brown. There were a couple of scraggly little redwoods towards the outside. The inside was partly grass and partly paved. It was 2 stories. Blah 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 blah. Couple years later, I go to college. I get assigned to my dorm, and I walk into my dorm, exact same fucking building that I had written down that I
So you have the record.
looked at, yeah.
Oh my God.
And totally possible that I don't maybe I could have seen a picture. Although I was at that point 2 years away from even applying to
Why
college.
would you
You
and
don't
why?
have to-
I don't know,
that way.
maybe. But when I got to my college dorm, I went, yep,
I've seen
This
this
is-
in my dreams.
This is that. And it happens to me with some regularity.
How
Is there
much
crazy?
regularity?
A couple times a year.
Whoa, every year, a couple times a year.
Yeah, more
Just
or less.
something.
Yeah, there's
Always
just
place
yeah.
oriented.
That's pretty rare.
Yes. Yeah, I don't have and I get deja vu like a normal fucking person where I'm
Right.
oh, we've met before and we haven't actually met.
Yeah.
And that is not, it does not feel the
It's
same.
not the same thing.
Well, I have to say that, not that specifically, but I've definitely had senses of ooh, I did see this in a dream, or but sometimes that's what deja vu feels like to me. I don't know, but this sounds like so much more specific and vivid, and also you seem to know your trees.
I love trees.
Oh, that's interesting. How do you know about trees?
Forget trees. I'm,
who loves our
fascinated by
trees?
this.
Our friend Bigfoot. But I'm saying,
Oh, do you think that I am the descendant of a Bigfoot
Possibly.
alien? The enemies of the lizard people?
We can't
yes.
prove that you're not.
Here's the
Can't
thing,
prove
though.
that I'm not.
I'm going somewhere with this because if we're talking dreams and we're talking lucid dreams,
We're
vivid,
talking precognition.
That's what we're talking.
But in 2 of these, and the 2 that you've given me, just me, these guys are here
We're just a passive observer.
passively
Your
listening.
sidekicks.
It's Michael's
No,
show.
but I'm fixating on me personally. I'm fixating on, you mentioned trees twice, so that pops up to me. So is there a connection with? You know what I
That is
mean?
a good question. I'm with you on that. Is trees a common
A
theme?
dream art.
What's the connection with the trees?
What's the connection with the trees?
We'd have to look up what the dream symbol is for trees to see if
do
there
it
was
right
any
now.
sort of.
Perfect.
But what's interesting and rare about your case is there's lucid dreaming and being lucid in the environment of a sleep world, but having precognition, which means seeing something in your dreams that you will later experience in your life. In the future is pretty rare, and I think that's fascinating. Do you ever get a hint of when you're in a lucid dream that because obviously you don't know that you're going to see that thing later, right? Is there any hint of that now that you've experienced it more?
I think it would be confirmation bias to say yes
I
to that.
understand,
Because I
right.
think I have dreams that feel significant and I remember them when I wake up, or dreams where I go, I am dreaming.
Yeah.
I could do whatever I want. Fuck
Right.
Scarlett Johansson, perhaps.
Right. Yeah.
Does anyone want to know the dream symbolism for
Yeah,
trees
what
is
is
about?
it?
Now, I'm pulling this off a
Strength.
website called My Dream Symbolism, and the icon is a sleeping unicorn, and there's a prominent ad for La Quinta Inn on this. But
Oh, I
Okay.
love a
Where you can get a good
La
night's
yeah,
sleep.
exactly.
Legit
All
as
right.
fuck.
La Quinta.
Trees in
You
our
guys are
dreams
sponsored by La
symbolize
Quinta.
our
Yeah,
desires and hopes, knowledge, growth, and life in general. They are a sign of strength, stability,
I said
and
strength, yeah.
protection. It might also indicate some new opportunities coming your way. Also, there's history there, like the family tree.
Speaking of family, so my mom
Ancestry.
studied botany before she studied medicine, and she used to take us all on walks and quiz us on and I'll be like, magnolia,
look at that.
elm.
Oh, that's right.
Botany,
Mike?
medicine, also magic. That's
This is
some witchy stuff.
I'm doing the magic hands.
That's some witchy
Good
stuff.
Good for
You're
audio.
concocting some herbs to help
Yeah.
people.
And I have a little bit of a theory on what's going on. I'm
Okay.
open to the possibility that it's magic and some people are psychic in different ways.
Uh-huh.
I also have a theory about time that is
Oh my
based
God,
on
please do tell.
pseudoscience,
Oh.
but I love it.
Okay.
I made it up.
Well, let's hear it.
I have a theory that, all right, we all know about quantum entanglement, of course,
Yes,
the
for sure.
concept that like two tiny particles can be entangled through space.
Yep.
But they've also found that the very smallest particles can also be entangled through time.
Absolutely.
So like one atom spins up on the other side of even years. So I've got a theory that maybe some of us, when our conscious minds are a little bit less in the way, maybe we are perceiving some of these entangled particles through time, affecting our ocular nerves and our brains.
Let me tell you, you're not too far off, and what you're talking about is retro.
But you're a little wrong.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
are
no,
a
give
little
me-
wrong.
80%.
No, you're there. What you're talking about is retrocausation.
Ooh, what's this?
And that's a quantum idea that the future actually affects the past. So, yes, particles do become entangled through time and space, but time isn't linear. It doesn't work like an arrow.
Man.
So what happens in the future can actually affect what happens in the past. And otherwise, how can we explain that you're getting these visions of the future in your dreams? Something must be happening. Either it's phenomena through a source unknown, or it's a scientific principle not yet fully developed and discovered. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Terence McKenna was, "History is the shockwave of eschatology." And what that means is, you know, the big future event has already happened, right? And it's really just rippling back through time. And that's how we get these, you know, sort of mystical states and these deities that come to us and all these like big history moments that are mysterious in nature. You know, that big event in the future has already happened.
Hashtag futures first.
Basically.
Future
Yeah.
is.
But
Well, I
it's-
mean, a lot of people think that the aliens are us from the future
Yeah.
coming back to, you know, I mean, look, one of the biggest movies of this summer was about superheroes traveling back in time
Yeah.
to make sure that what happens in the past ensures the future. So I don't know. It's not wild to think that this is a popular idea in the zeitgeist, you know, at all.
One of the books I'm reading right now is called Phenomena by Annie Jacobson, and she's a Pulitzer Prize.
She's the one who said that the Roswell crash were a bunch of deformed Russians.
Is that right?
Yeah, dude. She's got a whole book
Hell
on
yeah.
on
She's
Roswell.
She's a Pulitzer Prize nominee for her work on Pentagon Area 51 and Operation Paperclip. But this book about Phenomena is about the CIA's psychic program and research. And during reading that, they had they call it the 8 martini result. In other words, these scientists, once they experienced what these people were able to do, had what was called a conversion experience. And it took them 8 martinis to really sort of just grasp their mind
I
around
mean,
it.
give me 8 martinis.
Yeah.
I'm gonna...
But
I'll
that's
grasp
how
whatever you want.
something.
that's how freaky real some of this shit got. And some of these psychics under the project were able to have these precognitive remote viewing sessions where they saw the future events happening. Now, they really weren't able to act on it as far as intelligence goes. But when those events did happen, it came back, and they were able to look at those records and say, "Man, you called this on a dime." So we know that it is a real thing, this precognitive phenomena, and so now it's just coming down to like, how do we explain it?
Yeah.
The thing about this psychic thing, though, sort of to sum it all up, is that, you know, the CIA agreed, and so will I, that there is the ability, the psychic powers do exist. You know, people do have those abilities. Now, where it comes from, the source of this psychic power, and where it comes from is anybody's game. You know, nobody really knows if it's an intelligent force or sentient phenomena, or if it's just undiscovered science that we just haven't gotten to yet.
Probably
you know?
the time stone.
It could be the time
Or it's
stone.
the time stone.
Wait, so but you're freaked out by this? You don't like it? You don't think it's like a superpower?
I like it. I don't. It is a. Clearly, I'm incredibly comfortable with it. I grew up in the Bay Area and around a lot of people who are into some woo-woo shit. And I think that sometimes when people start to believe that they have a special ability, they become like very insufferable.
Totally.
And their lives get worse.
Yeah.
And so I prefer not to incorporate it into my personality.
You seem humble enough.
I would say this.
So you've tried lucid dreaming, you've practiced it. Now, what do you do when you lucid dream? What do you like to do when you become aware that you're dreaming?
I gave up on being like diligent about it. That was like a fun teenage experience more than anything. But when it does happen, usually I'll just kind of roll with what's happening and be like, a dream. I can't get hurt, so I don't need to be scared. Let's see what happens now.
That's so smart. Yeah.
That's nice.
That's awesome.
I'd say in terms of becoming insufferable, look, you've already got a fun podcast about conspiracy theories. It seems like you're pretty self-aware to like take some of these big ideas and weird ideas and have fun with them. So I would suggest, why don't you explore this a little bit?
Okay, I'll get more into my psychic
You
abilities.
should. All
You
right.
got me.
Speaking of what's going on in that mind of yours, Katelyn, we have a game we like to play with our guests.
Yes.
Awesome.
This is called Bullshit or Believe It.
You can do it.
That's its theme sound for the.
Do you know how this works?
No.
I'm going to go down a list of things, phenomena. You're going to say bullshit if you don't believe in it, or believe it if you do.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Rapid fire.
Great.
2 choices. If you're on the fence, pick one. We'll circle back.
Okay.
On your mark. Get set. Ghosts.
Bullshit.
UFOs.
Bullshit.
Bigfoot.
Bullshit.
Angels.
Bullshit.
Gnomes.
Believe it.
Unicorns.
Bullshit.
Shadow people.
What? Believe it.
Great. We'll come back. Loch Ness Monster.
Bullshit.
Little gray aliens.
Well, should specify Loch Ness Monster was true, no longer true. No longer alive.
Oh.
Believe it in the past, bullshit now.
Yes.
Little gray aliens.
Bullshit.
Dogman.
Huh? Sure.
Parallel universes.
Believe it.
The Loveland Frogman.
Bullshit.
Mermaids.
Bullshit.
Heaven.
Bullshit.
Hell.
Bullshit.
Yeti.
Bullshit.
Venusians, a.k.a. hot blondes from Venus.
Oh, God, I want to believe it so bad, but it's bullshit.
ESP.
Believe it.
Chupacabra.
Bullshit.
Demons.
Bullshit.
Atlantis.
Believe it in the past, no longer happening.
Bat Squatch.
Adorable, but it's not real.
Astrology.
It's bullshit.
Life on other planets.
Oh, believe it.
World peace.
Someday.
Peace in the multiverse.
Someday, hell yeah.
Great job.
Wow.
Very good.
Thank you. That was exciting.
Gnomes you're into.
I love that.
I was being a little disingenuous, but
Okay.
I certainly want to believe that gnomes
But
are
why are you-
real.
I thought you were a special case here.
Let me say this.
Yes, what's up?
You seem to be a tree spirit.
Oh, busted.
Gnomes are of the rocks and forests and trees and rivers.
I love me gnome. Here's what I think gnomes are. I think that they are, and I'm going to agree. I listened to the episode with Mystic Evan.
Dylan.
Mystic Dylan. Thank you very much. Very disrespectful. Listen to the episode
How
with
dare
Mystic
you.
Dylan.
Meanwhile, Mr. Gavin is like, shout out. Fuck.
He's just getting started in his career. He's not on podcasts yet.
Almost.
That a lot of that sort of like, oh, it's just a harmless little woodland sprite is like, no, that was somebody's god, somebody that you conquered and decided that their whole belief system is like a cute little fairy. So you know what? I'm not here to judge the realness of gnomes.
Right.
I love that.
Wow.
Okay, what happened to the Loch Ness Monster, Caitlin?
I think she's just up to date on all things crypto.
I love me some cryptos. I think that the Loch Ness Monster was an evolutionary holdover. I think it was a large reptile. It didn't exist in that part of the world anymore, and it took a long-ass time to die, like how they think that giant squid could possibly live for thousands.
If it's a reptile,
I thought you were referring to
could
that
it lay-
eDNA study.
could it lay eggs?
It could have, but it didn't want to.
Because
'Cause she was an
maybe it would
independent female.
Maybe it would explain more living there. There's a fucking moth with a big old shadow flying
It's
around
a big
here.
boy.
A DJ and the Shadow
boy.
Bats are playing later, guys, tonight over at name a cool spot in L.A.
The
Riley.
Moth House.
The Moth
Yeah.
House. DJ and the Shadow Bats at the Moth House tonight. I said, hell, you went,
No, I was just that one. I was doing a goof too because
dramatic
I
pause.
said heaven, no way, but hell,
ah.
but I don't believe in hell.
There's a lot of people that actually do this game, and it's funny. They'll believe in like angels and demons, but then they won't believe in heaven and hell. Or some will believe in heaven, not in hell. It's a straight. So at least you were consistent in your belief. For a lot of people get caught
This is the
up.
problem with trying to have a comedy paranormal podcast because like sometimes you're like, I don't know when to take people literally or not.
I'm doing
You
too
get
many
very
goofs.
confused. No, but it's good. I actually thought you were saying along the lines with Bryce is some people are like Bryce will be like, hell is a place on earth. Like, guess what? We're living there
State
now.
of mind.
Yeah. I'm on board for that.
Well, you know what, Caitlin? You did fantastic.
Oh, you did
on that.
wonderful.
Hold on.
Wait, whoa,
Atlantis.
whoa.
Oh, Atlantis.
Oh, yeah.
We can't move on with that.
I
I guess I
heard,
understood what you meant.
have you heard the theory of the sea people?
Mm-mm.
I stand
Okay,
corrected.
here we go. We just did an episode about it, and so I'm going to get some of the details wrong because I don't really remember.
We do it all the time.
But hell yeah.
I'm not listening right now.
During the reign of Ramses III,
Yep.
or one of the Ramesses, there was a sudden and very intense wave of ocean raiders, of like mariners who would like come into a town, hit really hard, sack everything, take all the women, bail back out to the sea.
Like the Deacon in
I
Waterworld.
was going to say, when she said Mariners, I thought Kevin Costner just
Yeah,
blasted into
hell
my
yeah.
I gotta say,
Bunch of long-haired Kevin Costners
I
out
saw
there on
the
the
stunt.
ocean.
I saw
Yes,
the stunt show
yes.
at Universal not
It's
too long
exactly
ago.
like that. It
is
was exactly-
fucking great.
Yes, there's
It
fire
is
shooting
so
out of the
good.
water. It is really fun.
So this all checks out. Uh-huh.
So there were a bunch of inscriptions that were sort of like, in this year we were raided by blah blah, and every other sort of ethnicity of people, they would be like the Phoenicians, it was the Libyans, it was the
Yes.
Baba. They never specify who these people were. My
I think
theory.
you meant Lemurians, not Libyans.
Oh no, I think these were the
well, the
Lemurians, the
Lemurians
mystery
were
people.
enemies of the Atlanteans.
Oh well, maybe there was some intertribal
At least in
scuffling
Marvel
in the
comics.
sea.
Oh, you're going.
Yeah.
Comic.
Oh boy,
I thought we were talking about
nerd
Shasta.
alert.
The Libyans were enemies of Doc Brown.
Oh,
And
that's right. Yeah.
Marty
Ah,
McFly.
yes, of course.
Yeah. Speaking of conspiracy theory, there's some strange Back to the Future parallels that run with 9/11. Have you heard of the Back to the Future 9/11 conspiracy theory?
Oh, what?
That
Wait,
might be a
maybe,
future episode for
maybe
you.
you guys
You
got to
should,
come
yeah.
on and
Let's save that
Yeah.
and come do it
It's a good one.
over on your show.
You'd love it.
I love this.
All right, amazing. We got to take a break. When we come back, it's time for this week's story of high strangeness.
Sweet.
Guess what, children? It's time for this week's story of high strangeness. And this week, I will be telling you a story. This one is sure to get your goose. It's a real creepy one. Just in time for the advent of the season of the witch.
Ooh. Lord knows that's going to be a good one.
Oh, Lord.
Kirtland is a historic community nestled in Lake County, Ohio. A hilly, forested area, Kirtland is home to beautiful parks, the Holden Arboretum, as well as the first Mormon temple, established by Joseph Smith himself after he relocated the Church of Latter-day Saints from New York State to Lake County from 1831 to 1837.
Wow, no way.
Now regarded as a bit of a tourist destination,
Typical.
this cozy suburb of Cleveland is allegedly home to some of the strangest characters of American folklore and cryptozoology. I am, of course, talking about
Mormons.
the Kirtland Melonheads.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the Melonheads.
Often described as deformed, diminutive humans with slight frames, the Melonheads get their names from their large bulbous heads, which contain big, sometimes glowing red eyes and mouths full of pointy teeth, which, if the stories are to be believed, are used to mutilate woodland creatures, livestock, and human beings.
Oh, this is more of a bummer than I was expecting from the cute name.
Making this breed of peculiar beings cannibalistic in nature, if they are indeed human, Katelyn.
Okay.
Said to inhabit the forests of Kirtland in a secret community, the Melonheads are typically spotted along Wisner Road near Chardon. Their history is shrouded in mystery. I'm going to give you guys a little glimpse at a artistic impersonation.
Oh,
wow.
It looks like if Leonard Nimoy's head got pumped full of helium.
That's
And then he got mad.
yeah.
Accurate description.
And
Thank
then
you so much.
Vincent Price said, "What did you do with my face?" Now, there are a few legends that explain the origin of these misguided beings. The two most popular versions both involve a man by the name of Dr. Crow. Now, Bryce, are you familiar with the Melonhead phenomenon?
You know, I've heard the name. I am not familiar with the legend or the lore.
I wasn't super familiar either, and I gotta tell you what, I had a lot of fun researching this stuff. Because this is a great high strangeness, because there are so many stories, just encounters and weird stories, and you know what, listener? Whether they're true or not, we'll leave that up to you. But here we go. In the first version of the story of the Melonheads, Dr. Crow is a doctor who worked for a mental institution or possibly a secret government project based in Lake County.
Hell
Believe
yeah,
it.
hell yeah. Yeah, I'm sold.
And by some nefarious means obtained a group of children and performed horrible experiments on them, which resulted in them mutating and becoming deformed. In this version of the tale, the Melonheads are somewhat slow and docile, likely the result of lobotomies performed by Dr. Crow,
Ooh.
and would sometimes escape the doctor's supervision and wander off to roam the woodland hills and roadsides like Frankenstein's monster, feared and misunderstood by the frightened rural public.
Kid stuff's always a bummer, so I'll take a pass
Well,
on that one.
I'd say that, yes, there is a bummer version of this, but the Melonheads are like adult versions of the kids.
Okay.
You
I
know
feel better.
I'll tell you what.
Story.
I'll tell you what. I didn't think about this until now. A perfect pop culture reference for a Melonhead is Sloth from Goonies.
Oh.
These guys are like Sloth,
Yes.
or they're like the evil version of them is from The Hills Have Eyes.
Still big old blobby
Yeah,
foreheads.
big old craniums, misunderstood. But they're kind of like Frankenstein's monster as well. In another version of the Melonhead's origin story, Dr. Crow has a wife who lives with him in a cabin near a landmark called Crybaby Bridge.
Ooh.
A haunted area where, oh boy, I hate to tell you, Caitlin, it is said the cries of dead babies and deformed children
I hate to hear
dwell.
it.
Sorry.
How are dead babies crying?
Well,
Touche.
they're ghosts. They're the ghosts
ghost
of the dead babies and dead children.
Bullshit.
That evil Dr. Crow killed and buried around the knoll somewhere.
His failed experiment.
Yes, or he would, in some of these stories sound like
Schmushmortion.
yes, stories where they're like, there's an evil doctor who performs abortions and he buries the babies in the river out
And
there.
then they can't go to heaven because they won't baptize.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of that, like, scary local folklore stuff about, like, oh, this is bad. Some people claim that if you park your car on the bridge, you can hear the screams of children crying in the water below. In this version, however, The crows are a kindly couple who adopt a group of children inflicted by hydrocephalus, an enlarging of the head caused by fluid on the brain.
Oh, wow.
The Melonhead children grow close to Mrs. Crow and accept her as their mother, much like the Lost Boys in Peter Pan. And she, in return, dotes on the poor souls and defends them from a wicked public that teases them for their deformities.
Oh, society are the monsters after all.
You're good at this stuff.
But after Mrs. Crow dies at a young age, the Melonheads revolt in grief, burning down the cabin and killing Dr. Crow in their rage.
Wow.
They then escape into the woods where their descendants still live today, each generation more deformed and more bizarre looking than the one before.
Wow.
Oh, so they're out there porking in the woods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Like Ray and Kylo Ren. They roam the roads at night, scaring unsuspecting travelers. In some versions of this story, they are actually the ghosts of the Melonheads who were also killed in the cabin fire along with Dr. Crow. And they haunt the woods. A version of the Melonhead story dates back to 1964. When legend goes, a group of unsuspecting teens were cruising around Wisner Road looking for a little bit of trouble when they found it. When the kids saw a being with a large deformed head on the side of the road, they got out of their car and they gave chase.
No.
The Melonhead
Never chase the big head baby.
The melon-headed figure, a.k.a. big-headed baby, led them back to an old farmhouse where they discovered a kindly couple. There's that Mr. and Mrs. Crow again.
Ding, ding, ding.
Sitting there, surrounded by a pack of melon-headed kids. When the teenagers asked what was going on, the man claimed that he was a former nuclear scientist that was exposed to radiation during World War II, causing all of his offspring to be born deformed. The government found him a nice little secluded home and paid him and his wife to keep quiet. So I went through, I checked a couple websites, and I got a couple stories of people who have claimed to have encountered the Melonheads in Kirtland. So these are not my words. I'm taking most of these from Weird Ohio's website. This one is from a website called Creepy in Cleveland. Okay, so this is from a woman named Alyssa. The most common story behind these mutant little creatures is that of a Dr. Crow, to be exact, who lived on Wisner Road in Kirtland, Ohio. He ran an orphanage with many children and did various experiments on their brains, causing their heads to become larger in proportion to the rest of their bodies.
Big old head babies.
It is said that they roam the woods at night looking for humans. They eat their flesh. The most notable description of a melonhead is about 3 or 4 feet tall, with a large head, glowing eyes, and sometimes said to have razor teeth. One day, the children killed the doctor as well as his staff. The mutants still roam the area on a killing spree. Well, I've got my own views on this. I went to Wisner Road in Kirtland
Debbie.
to prove what was real or what was fake. My aunt drove. Her friend Megan, my brothers, and their friend came along. We got lost in the area of Mitchell's Mill and Wisner, but we kept seeing shadows in the woods. And when we came along a black gate in the woods of Wisner Road, we all had that gut feeling. The kind of feeling that tells you that you aren't about to be in a good situation.
Oh, like when you eat too much old lasagna and like 2 hours later.
Your aunt's friend Megan made.
Yeah, Megan made that lasagna. Then you got to get out of there.
She said she made it last night, but she made it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. She doesn't know the meaning of dairy-free.
No.
Okay.
I mean, she made a nice lasagna for her boyfriend, but then he dumped her. Well, my brothers and their friend thought it would be cool to make them not seem like sissies. Okay, problematic Alyssa, to get out of the car. I mean, Alyssa, internalized misogyny is a real
you know
thing.
what I mean? Like, sometimes women police that shit, too.
Jeez.
I wish the big head babies had torn her apart with their little razor teeth. Anyway, go on.
When they walk down a little side road
I love
for
that
a
we
few
can
moments.
talk about razor sharp teeth, big headed hydrocephalic mutant babies, but not use the word cis.
I mean, she's big. I'm just saying, she's a woman saying that being like a girl is bad.
Yeah, think about that, Megan.
Okay.
They
Chomp.
claim that there was something that ran across the road. It suddenly got extremely foggy outside. Momentarily, my brother Keith realized he had lost his phone while running back to the car. We were in no mood, and none of us had the courage to turn back. Oh, I skipped a couple parts. That's fine.
We ended
Yeah,
up
it was good.
It was exciting.
It glues together pretty nicely.
Not bad.
All told. All right, so here's some more stories. This one's called Animal Corpses Marked Trail Through Melonheads Woods.
That's the title?
Sounds like a
this
Vice
from-
headline.
I thought that was the story.
This is Rich. That's it. This is from Rich Gleer. I live in Eastlake, Ohio, not far from Kirtland. I've heard many stories and I've seen many things in the woods of Kirtland.
Goddamn right.
I've seen the burnt shack of Dr. Crow and starships gleaming off of Coast of Orion.
Bone to eyes.
Single tear rolls down
Yes.
Mike Will's face.
This is like Rucker Hauer's speech at the end of Blade Runner. Okay.
Something in the
saw
rain.
the chain that the Melonheads hung his dead corpse from. I can say as one person that the Melonheads are in fact real.
Dang.
Close by Kirtland, there's a small castle for picnics and barbecues, and miles of hiking trails. When you walk down these trails, you can see some mutilated animals in deep parts of the woods.
Oh,
That one was
scary.
That was
it.
perfect.
No,
a
it's
lot to
great.
keep up
It
with.
was really, really good.
I've been hiking back in the woods for as long as I can remember. Not one time while strolling have I not seen small dead animals and mutilated corpses and bones. Rich. Now, Rich, I feel like you're leaving a breadcrumb trail for us to find.
Did you just say breadcrumb?
Breadcrumb.
I like how he signed off with his name, Rich.
Rich.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I too have been for walks in the woods and seen mutilated animals, so I think we should be talking about the Griffith Park Melonheads.
Oh.
If anything.
What say you?
This one is called Caught a Glimpse of a Melonhead at Mitchell's Mill.
I'm like, I think we're good.
I know lots about Melonhead Smith. I know the Dr. Crow story is sort of true, but there are some facts missing. First of all, Dr. Crow did exist, but he lived in the 1940s and was a dentist.
Oh.
There could have been another Dr. Crow, though.
Wait, this is like Dr. Crow's condescending relative. It's
Right,
like
right.
Dentist
Yeah.
Crow.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute,
right.
wait a
Yeah.
minute. He might have made those Melonhead babies, but he was a dentist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second, full moons have nothing to do with their nasty behavior. I know this from experiences with them and from experiences that others have had. My first experiences with what I think were Melonheads was on the East Branch of the Chagrin River. Or Chagrin River? I'm going to say Chagrin.
Disappointing river.
I love
My
that.
brother and I were driving along Mitchell's Mills, and I saw a quick flash out of the corner of my eye. I looked right, and I saw something by a tree. It was very blurry, though. I was so scared I screamed, and my brother looked out his window. "What the hell was that?" he said. I guess he saw it too, because he turned around at the spring and we headed back. This was near Mentor Road, which is off of Auburn. Jay.
Wow, riveting,
I mean,
Jay.
didn't see a Melonhead.
None of these people saw Melonheads.
All right,
So, guys,
I'll
some
end
dead
this.
animals.
I'll end
Wow.
this with a story from Tony, who did see a Melonhead.
Take us home, Tony.
Ditched Melonhead along roadside. My name is Tony, and I recently had an experience with the Melonheads. It was on October 5th, 2001. My stepfather, mom, stepbrother, and me were driving around Chicoltha Road, might be misspelled, in Chardon. We had been driving up and down roads in the same area for almost an hour with no luck. We were just about to go home when we came upon this stretch of road that had fields on both sides and an irrigation ditch running parallel with each side of the road.
I trust Tony because his voice is calm.
I know. Tony sounds so real to me.
Yeah.
Just then,
Keep going, Tony.
Just then, I looked out my window and I saw him.
What'd you see, Tony?
A melonhead. He, or it, was running along
Or she?
next to the ditch. I mean, you have men and you have its. That's all I know. Since the ditch was too wide to jump over, it was coming close like it was about to jump, then pulling away. At the time, we were going 45, 50 miles per hour. The melonhead was actually keeping up with us.
These things are fast.
Fast.
It didn't look like anything I've heard in the stories. He looked about the same height as me, 5'7", was wearing brown pants, which were very ripped up, where the seams would be. It was held together by what looked like corn husk.
The pants?
Yeah. It wore a white t-shirt with brown and red stains all over it. Hoping that the red stains weren't blood. Its head was very light brown. It was a very light brown tint. It had 2 big holes in the side of its head, which I think were ears. Its head was swelled up, and its eyes were very big looking. Just as we turned a curve, it jumped in the woods. That is my story of the melonheads.
Thank you, Tony. Well
So
done.
those are just a few encounters of the melonheads. So, urban legend, a myth to scare horny teens, a totally true story. It
Maybe
may
a little bit of
or may
everyone.
not surprise you that similar tales of other melon-headed people who roam the wilds of the forest happen in Allegan County, Michigan, as well as Connecticut.
Oh, wow.
In Connecticut's version of the story, the melonheads are the result of centuries-old occult practices in a burned-down asylum.
Okay.
They lurk around a road known to the locals as Dracula Drive.
I mean, don't mix your metaphors, you know?
Right.
I know.
Yeah, you should have stopped there.
Yeah.
Now, whatever's behind these stories, the melonheads serve as a warning not to ostracize and exile members of society just because they're different. Then again, I'm not so sure I'd go wandering down Wisner Road alone at night. Would you?
Lord knows.
Lord knows you're going to see some kind of screwed up little baby with a big head and razor sharp teeth. Lord knows.
Lord knows. Lord knows.
That's the story of the melonheads
Okay.
of Kirtland, Ohio.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Pretty creepy, right?
Very fascinating.
Yeah. There's a lot there to unpack. That's for sure.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Well,
You know-
bullshit or believe it.
I would never tell the good people of Ohio what they did or did not see in their cars with their aunts, Megan or otherwise. To me,
Now, to be fair, their aunt's name was unknown. Her friend's name was Megan, and she's the one who made the lasagna.
you know what? I'm not a reliable narrator either, so I'm going to say believe it. Sure. Why not?
Nice.
Great.
I
Nice.
guess I believe it.
What do you think this is?
I think that, we know scientists in
Always exciting when Bryce has to say he doesn't believe in a monster that people have seen.
Oh, I'm going to believe. Well, hold on.
Okay.
Slow your roll. Now we know in terrible, communist camps, people operate. Doctors would take the opportunity to operate on all different kinds of people. So we know that exists, right? Who's to say that this Dr. Crow didn't, run some pretty crazy operations that maybe he probably shouldn't have been doing? And who's to say that one of those patients might have escaped into the woods and had an abnormally large head or something like this? And at this point, a sighting like that can take on epic proportions and move into mythology and move into lore.
Yes.
And perhaps even after that, these things can really sort of take on a life of their own, taking on, magical powers like that of the tulpa, and
sure.
And that,
bring in the tulpa into it.
You
Sure.
gotta bring in the tulpa.
And that as these legends sort of start to coalesce and combine with each other, that, perhaps people do see strange things in a certain, because what's interesting is that it takes place in a certain town on a certain road.
Yeah.
There's a lot of commonalities. I mean, perhaps it's just legend passing, but
I tend to agree with you, but I think the Dr. Crow stuff might be part of the myth that took on a life of its own. Like, maybe there was a guy who dealed with hydrocephalus who lived in town.
Hydrocephalus felt real to me.
That felt real, like adopted a
family
couple
was like a
kids.
little
Yeah.
ashamed,
Yep.
and he might just hang out on the side of the road and watch cars drive by.
Right.
And over the years, people started telling stories, And
As someone who babysat a lot in my younger days, little kids have sharp teeth.
and a
So-
taste for babysitter flesh.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I never got a scar from a child biting me.
Yeah,
Right.
this seems to be like up there with the like Gravity Hills and certain you've got the Haunted Bridge. And the fact that there are a couple other, and we didn't go into too much detail, but there are other places in like England that come up where this is a thing. So this almost feels like a cultural myth that might have come over from Western Europe as people settled, that just on the outskirts of town, just where the village line is drawn, just on the other side of that bridge. Because again, the bridge also evokes Washington Irving's, Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
They live on the other side of some
there's
barrier.
something just
The unknown.
in Joseph Campbell. In The Hero with 1,000 Faces, I think they call it the threshold entity or the threshold. There's always a monster that lurks just on the other side of your perimeter, that is the threshold creature that's letting you know you're now in uncharted territory.
Great.
So I feel like this kind of falls into a American folklore category for me. But then again, we have people who are writing. I mean, I listed just 3, 4. You can find a lot of stories like the Black Eyed Kids.
I was going to say, it reminds me of the Black Eyed Kids.
It is. It's similar.
It's a very creepy pasta.
There's a lot of creepypasta in here, and there's a lot of people who swear they saw this thing. And it's hard to tell where eyewitness accounts begin and legend ends.
But when you talk about like a lasagna that your friend brought, you just, it reeks of truth to me. You know what I mean?
That was pulled from my very own life. And that part's not folklore. I am lactose intolerant.
Well, maybe you'll be a melon belly if you eat that lasagna. Don't
Very nice.
Touche.
All right. Any concluding thoughts on the melon heads?
Sound cute?
Pretty cute. Katelyn, where can people find you?
Oh, this is the part where I forget what my social media stuff is. I got a
Take
website,
your
KatelynHempstead.com, and that's where I collect my little bits and bobs. Listen to Lizard People. I'd love to hear what conspiracy theories you want me to talk about next. I'm on Twitter at Katelyn Hempstead, no D. Tweet at me.
Great. Love
Awesome.
it. Definitely check out the podcast. It's great. I've listened to it long before we started this show. I think that this is where I finally heard a satisfactory argument, not the argument, but explanation of the conspiracy theory about there are no trees. That was a fun one.
Honestly, I hate to give it up because that is my friend Ben, and he is an idiot, and I love him, but he's a fool. But I think you might have been right about that.
Okay, cool.
Check
Go
it
check
out.
that episode. Bryce,
Yes.
Riley, things to plug individually before we roll into where to find us.
Nah, just, rate and review the show on the old iTunes. And we love you. Thanks.
Great. Thanks.
I guess.
Also, check us out over on the other side at our Patreon page, patreon.com/BigfootCollectorsClub. Also, we've got new shirts based on our new logo here, our latest logo on Campfire Media.
I like those
feeling
shirts.
that logo.
The
yeah.
shirts look great. You can find those at our TeePublic shop currently. They are up for sale, so go definitely check those out. tpublic.com. Search for Bigfoot Collectors Club. They'll come right up. And that's it, guys. Follow us every week on Instagram, Bigfoot Collectors Club, Twitter, Bigfoot_C Club. And I'm McMills. He's Mr. Bryce Johnson. We got Trash Bag hashtag on my left, Mr. Riley Bray. And you know what? If you're giving us a follow, give Nova the Wolf King a follow too.
Wolf King of LA.
Our little
Follow
studio
Nova.
Yeti. I want to thank our guest, Katelyn Hempstead. Why am I brain farting all of a sudden?
You're doing great. Trust your intuition.
I almost went hemp seed.
Wait a minute.
I have something to
Do you
add.
want to hear something weird?
Yes.
It was hemp seed in Scotland. My grandfather changed it when he moved to America.
shit.
Premonition.
Damn.
Well, the CIA was right. I'm psychic. Also, I'm part of the CIA. Until next week, I'm Michael McMillan for Bryce Johnson, Riley Bray.
Go get regressed. You know you need to.
Wow, that was an uncomfortable out.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.